In 1989, something happened that should have been impossible. A singer who had been dead over 3 decades suddenly had a hit record on the charts. And not only did it reach the top 10, it also won awards from the CMAs, the Academy of Country Music, and it even earned a Grammy. Now, how does that happen? How does a singer who's been gone for more than 3 decades suddenly have a hit record? Well, the story starts, believe it or not, in an attic in a cardboard box. That's exactly right. And before this story became public, I first heard it while sitting in the living room of Hank Williams' fiddle player Jerry Rivers alongside steel guitarist Don Helms. And I listened to them tell that story of Big Bill Lister. And it became obvious to me that this wasn't just a story about a forgotten song. This was a story about friendship, loyalty, and a promise that Hank Williams refused to break. Hey everybody, welcome back to Highway to Hank. I'm your host, Jason Petty. For the last 30 years, I've had the honor of portraying Hank Williams Sr. on stages all over the world. And I got 2 years in at the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee, in the hit musical called Lost Highway about Hank Williams. And I got to meet everybody who knew Hank, and they wanted to share their stories with me. I began to write them down. Now I am sharing them with you through this channel. And tonight's story is a really good one. It's about a song that became a hit some 35 or so years after it was first written. It had been forgotten about, put in a box in an attic, and suddenly, boom, Hank Williams had his final hit with it. And to get the story started, we got to go back to 1950. Hank Williams had a buddy, a musician buddy, who sometimes played in his band, the Drifting Cowboys, by the name of Big Bill Lister. And to tell you the truth, I heard this story first before it became public knowledge from Don Helms and Jerry Rivers. They're two of Hank Williams' musicians who became friends of mine. And they began this story. They were doing a session with Hank at MGM Records in 1950 one night. And Bill Lister was playing guitar on the session. And Hank went up to Bill after the session just to chit chat. And he asked him, "How's that recording session for Capitol Records going for you? Or are you going to sign a deal with them?" And Bill looked at Hank and said, "Well, I'll tell you what, I think they like me okay, but I need a hit." Hank said, "Don't you worry, buddy. I got you covered. I'm going to sit down and write you a hit song. It'll knock their socks off." Now think about that for a minute. He wasn't talking about, a month from now. He's talking about writing a song tonight after that session was over. Well, after the session got over, Hank took a little acetate player. Now, acetate's kind of like a record, but it's made out of something that's a little less permanent than vinyl, and it will deteriorate over time. But he was just going to put a demo of him singing the song so that Bill could learn it for his recording session the next night at Capitol Records. Well, that's exactly what happened. Next day, Hank shows up. Bill hands him this acetate demo recording for him to learn the song. Bill practices his guitar and singing the song over and over again. And that night, he goes in to Capitol Records and records the song. And then nothing happened. The song went nowhere. He didn't get the record deal. Eventually, a few years later, he left Nashville altogether and the music business and moved back home with his wife to Houston, Texas to live life normally. Before we get back into it, a lot of you have been asking how you can help support the channel and what we're trying to accomplish here. And I want to take a few seconds to address that. First of all, we've started channel memberships, and I could not be more excited. The first level is called Hey Good Looking, and it gives you some fun perks like loyalty badges, custom Highway to Hank emojis, early access to videos, members-only polls, members-only posts, and a section where you can share your own personal Hank Williams memories. The second level is called Lost Highway, and that gets you everything on the Hey Good Looking level, plus an exclusive video every single month, and stories and behind the scenes stuff that I don't put anywhere else. Plus, I will read your personal Hank Williams stories. Just look right below the video and hit that join button, and it'll show you the details on each package. Now, if a monthly membership is not for you, you can always do a one-time super thanks. Go hit the three dots below the video here and hit thanks. And for absolutely free, you can always hit the like and subscribe buttons. There's no obligation whatsoever, and it helps us out more than anything else. Thanks so much, and let's get back to the show. Well, Hank passes away in 1953, of course, and years go by, decades go by. Then one afternoon in the late 80s, Big Bill Lister's wife, now they called him Big Bill because he was 6'7". So, and if you say it real quick, it sounds like Big Blister. But Big Bill Lister, his wife, decided their attic looked like a mess and it had to be cleaned out. So she said, I'm going to go up there and start going through all these old boxes of yours and throwing stuff away. And he said, have at it. Throw away everything if you want to. Well, she comes down. She's got a box full of old records. And she said, what do you want me to do with these? And Bill said, just throw them away. Just toss them. I'm sure they're all warped from being in the hot attic in Houston, Texas for all these years. But he said, wait a minute. Let me get out the old record player and see what we can salvage. And he started playing through them, and they were all messed up. So most of them were warped, so the needle would go over it funny. But then there was this one. It was an acetate. It should have deteriorated 25 or 30 years before then, but it was intact, and it played. It was a little scratchy, to be honest with you, but it was the acetate that Hank Williams had written and recorded and sang so his buddy could learn the song. And Bill was just through the roof. He said he almost cried when he heard it, because there is his friend, his dear friend who wrote this song for him, singing it to him some 35 years later. And he said, you know what? I'm going to give this song to Hank Williams Jr. as a gift so he can hear his daddy sing a song he's never heard sung before. And he did. He called Hank Jr. up. Jr. happened to come through Houston on a tour, and Bill said, stop by my house. And Jr. did. And he gave him the record, the acetate. Jr. heard it and was floored. He said, I've got to do something with this. I really have to do something with this. Now, this is the late 80s. Music videos were big, but technology had at least gotten to the point where you could take the vocal off of this acetate and isolate it. That's what Junior did. He took it to his folks at the recording studio, and they isolated Hank's vocal. So Junior decided he's going to sing a duet with his daddy. And that's exactly what he does. Now, to get into all the engineering mess would be far beyond me and bore you to death. Suffice it to say, Hank Jr. and Hank Sr. sang a duet together. And it was an amazing song called There's a Tear in My Beer. And it became a hit. It went to the top 10. It earned the video. Now, if you've ever watched the video, you can see they use an old black and white piece of footage of Hank Williams Sr. from the old Kate Smith show. And then somehow, through the magic of video, Hank Jr. appears in black and white and sings alongside his daddy, harmonizes with his daddy, and it's a father-son duet that won Video of the Year awards. It won Duet of the Year for the CMAs, the ACMs, which is the Academy of Country Music, and also earned a Grammy Award for Country Duet. And it was an amazing song, and it's an amazing story as well. As I listened to Jerry Rivers and Don Helms tell this story, I remember the laughter I remember the sparkle in their eyes, reminiscing about Hank and about Big Bill Lister. But the story was one about friendship. It wasn't about a hit record or the technology or Hank Jr. It was about the friendship. It was about the kind of person that Hank Williams was. Bill needed a hit. Hank said, sure. He sat down and less than half an hour, wrote Tear in My Beer, and then just gave it away because that's who Hank Williams was. And I think that's why Hank Williams was such a genius, because nowadays that wouldn't happen. Nowadays it takes a party of 3 or 4 people in a room over weeks, sometimes months, to finish up a song, especially a hit song. And it goes through changes and everything. But Hank was, if it takes him more than 30 minutes, he said he just crumpled up the paper and threw it in the trash. Lord, I would have loved to have gone through Hank Williams' trash cans to find all the partially hit songs that he had written that he got frustrated with because they were taking too long. They were taking more than 30 minutes. That's exactly who Hank was. But now, people study Hank Williams lyrics. Young songwriters study Hank Williams lyrics. And they marvel at that genius, because now it's a totally different world. It's one in which they say a man dies twice. Once when he passes away, and the other time when his name is spoken for the last time. And if that's true, Hank Williams will never leave us, because his music will live on and on through history because of the amazing genius that was Hank Williams. And I hope you've enjoyed the story today of There's a Tear in My Beer. If you want to hear me sing the song, you can go over to my other channel. Because of copyright, I had to make a second channel for songs only. So go over to Hank's Classic Country Vault, and it will be in there. Just search down for it, or I'll put a link down in the description. I'll try to put a link for Hank Williams' version of Tear in My Beer. And then, of course, the duet with Hank Jr. You'll get to hear all 3 versions if you'd like. I'll put links down in the description for that. Go visit our store down there. I've got the best Hank biographies there are. I've got this book here will knock your socks off. It's written by a friend of mine, Dr. Paul Nail, and it's about the psychology of Hank Williams. It's a 3-volume set. This is volume 1. If you really are a Hank fan, you really want to get inside the history of Hank Williams, the biography of Hank Williams, and the psychology of Hank Williams, I'll put a link for this also down in the description. The best biography I've ever read is the Colin Escott book. It's also down in my store. It's a little shorter. It's a much quicker read. Check that one out. That's a friend of mine as well, Colin Escott, who came to see the show at the Ryman Auditorium. Lots of good stuff down there. Please hit the like and subscribe button. We sure appreciate you being here. And if the good Lord's willing and them creeks don't rise, we'll see you for too long.